How does that look?
I'm not saying that. You get some sense that there's a handful of stocks.
Look at that. I mean, you could tie that to the market. Bang. Tim Seymour, how are you today?
I'm cold, man. We've had our first cold snap here in the Northeast. It's about time.
Yeah.
It's winter.
You think about it, you just do that shiver thing. It's interesting. I think of cold. I think of being in the house. When I was a young lad back in Croton on the Hudson, we were forced by my
Did
mom
you
to
guys?
watch.
Did you sometimes to heat the house? Did you open the oven doors?
Oh, I mean, what do you mean sometimes? I mean, that's the only thing. That was our source of heat.
Yeah.
So hopefully my mother wasn't baking, otherwise we'd be freezing cold. No, but she'd force us to watch Sesame Street. And one of my favorite portions or episodes or whatever in Sesame Street was one of these things is not like the other. You remember that whole thing?
I do. Was that Morgan Freeman that was doing that? Who was doing that?
Might have been the great Morgan Freeman. It might have been like Sally Struthers might have
Sally
strolled in
Struthers.
at some point.
It became actually a real badge of honor as a celebrity to be tapped to put in some time on Sesame Street. And I
No
would
question about
I can
it.
only hope that at some point you and I get tapped to be on Sesame Street. Would you do that?
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We do. You could do like the musical portion. Maybe I could do like the shapes portion. It'd be fantastic.
All right. So one of these things is not like the other.
We're gonna play the game. We're gonna play it right now. If you're
all right.
ready for it, I'm gonna give you
I'm
four names.
Born ready. I'm cold though.
All these people have birthdays this week. Okay, obviously all different ages, all storied careers, but one of these is not like the other. So you get ready. Listen carefully, please.
All right.
Okay. Diane Keaton, Robert Duvall, Nicolas Cage, and the great Georgetown graduate Brad Cooper. One of these things is not like the other.
Cooper.
That's a great job by you. Okay, so tell me why the other three are like. Why are they the same? Like, why do they live in the same genre?
Well, first of all, I just look. I mean, Brad Cooper is as relevant as I am, and all the rest are kind of past their prime, like you. How am I doing so far?
That's
I mean,
a great. Listen,
look,
great job. I like what you did there. I think Nick Cage has some relevance. Diane Keaton's still out there killing it. And Robert Duvall is probably north of 90. I mean, if he's in a movie, I'm watching it. But I hear what you're saying. Brad Cooper, clearly in his prime.
So Nick Cage's best work, what would you say?
I loved him in Face Off. The Rock, I thought he was great in The Rock. I mean, Nick Cage, though, his best work, I know where you're going, obviously,
no, his best
to Ridgemont High.
It wasn't Fast Time as one of Spicoli's buddies in the van. It's actually in Valley Girl. Go back and I'm going to say this to the folks at Commercial Break, one of the great soundtracks of all time. All right, Valley Girl. So and Nick Cage is Nicholas Coppola, right?
Exactly.
So my name's not Tim Seymour. It's Timothy Joseph, but I changed it because it's my stage name. So I don't know why I did that.
That's interesting. That's really it. And listen, you nailed it when you said Brad Cooper. The reason why Nick Cage, formerly Nick Coppola, Robert Duvall and Diane Keaton, they are in the same group as they all have Godfather ties. And obviously, Nicolas Cage, Coppola, is the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola, the director of obviously Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. We won't talk about 3. Who is your favorite character in The Godfather, by the way?
I mean, outside of Abe Vigoda, Tessio, it's Michael. It's Michael. And it's the young Michael. It's not the old Michael. I mean, look, the young Michael was, you know what? He had passion, but he had principle. He was a family man, and he wasn't afraid to work for it. And he put in his time. So but I mean, Diane Keaton is a doll, and I felt for her. How about you?
I like what you did there. Listen, she was clearly on the outs the entire time. But I will tell you, my favorite character, I think for obvious reasons, is the great James Caan's portrayal of Santino Corleone.
Yep. So the mafia in the markets today. Let's talk about who controls. First of all, there's that which controls the market. We talk about this all the time. The top 5 or 7 stocks, which now include Tesla and Nvidia, are now part of the mafia, by the way. I mean, if you think about it, Tesla in a NASDAQ 100 is, I don't know, 7 or 8%, which is extraordinary for a company that color me having been very wrong on where this company was going to go. And by the way, they tell me about this all the time on Twitter. But the fact that an NVIDIA now is a dominant player, again, you're talking about 7 companies that are now almost 30% of the Nasdaq one, actually, excuse me, of the S&P, and then are probably close to 45% of the Nasdaq. It's incredible. They're
You
the
mentioned
mafia.
color. Do you get exercised when the proper spelling of color obviously is COLOR? Do you get upset when people spell it COLOUR? I'm just asking.
I do that because again, those are the same people that are going to yield ice cream shoppy. I mean, it's annoying, but no, I don't color. I color.
No,
So yeah,
no, I just thought I'd ask. Now, listen, you mentioned those stocks. Obviously, the 5 families were important in the movie The Godfather, and now the market is effectively, you mentioned 7, but it's effectively being run by 5 companies that we talk about all the time. The question is there ever going to be a fraction, or there's going to be some friction between these 5 companies, or can they all live and do extraordinarily well in this environment?
Well, it's interesting because it seems as if the most aggressive or warring of the families are probably Facebook. Facebook and to some extent Apple. I think Apple sits on top, and I think Facebook has decided to kind of go about this their own way. And we've seen a way in which Microsoft somehow seems to almost be Switzerland amongst the families. And on some level, Microsoft does not directly compete in the core business of these other guys. And so, I kind of feel like quietly, Microsoft speaks softly, but carries the biggest stick.
So in some ways, Microsoft might be sort of the Barzini of The Godfather. Apple might be the Corleone family, and Facebook would be like the Cuneo family. Is that where your head is at?
You obviously spend a lot of time breaking down fictional mafia families, and good for you. So yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing for investors to remember is that you could be collateral damage. You could be caught in the crossfire of really, look, a market that at some point is going to, I think, punish all of the mafia, even though it seems as if it's, again, the mafia that's really controls everything.
Crossfire, by the way, is in a top 5 for me of a Stevie Ray Vaughan song. So you want to give me another Stevie Ray Vaughan song that you must listen to? I mean, I'm a huge SRV fan. Obviously, left this world far too soon.
So look, because I'm a musician and you're not, you probably don't understand Little Wing. But I mean that's classic. Mary Had a Little Lamb. I mean, again,
Sure.
Let's go back to Sesame Street. I bet they could have used that as really the intro and the outro to Sesame Street, because again, Fleece was white as snow, and that's all we need to know. So Stevie Ray Vaughan, SRV, might have been doing the Sesame Street.
No, I like what you did there. So here you go. Little Wing, are you taking the Clapton version, the Hendrix version, or the Stevie Ray Vaughan version?
I see what you did there. No, I'm taking, again, I think this was the genius of Stevie Ray. Hendrix to some extent. Clapton was writing the songs that the whole world wanted to play. And so what Stevie did was somehow took it all to a different level. I do think he was a tad overrated, and I know that bothers you.
Wow. Well, you know what we're doing right now? We're walking the tightrope in terms of time. We got to get out of here. He's Tim Seymour. I'm Guy Adami. We are
Commercial break.